Hey everyone, how's it going? My name's Cloud, and welcome to my personal VOD reviews of Locals. In this episode, we'll be taking a look at Game 2 of Week 8 for the OP11 Meta, where I played Purple Yellow Robin versus Yellow Vegapunk. Here's the deck list that I played in this match, and if you haven't already done so, please go check out the Locals retro video I made that covers this deck list and my overall thoughts on how Locals went this week. Without further ado, let's hop into the game. Game number 2 for Week 8 of the OP11 Meta, I'm playing Purple Yellow Robin versus Yellow Vegapunk. This matchup I'm actually really excited for because I think I have the advantage in this matchup. My opponent only has 2 life, and they depend on a lot of triggers, but my leader has Banish built in, so I am trying to put a lot of power behind my leader's ability and go for Banish swings so that any cards in life just go straight to the trash. So if I'm able to do that, then a lot of Vegapunk's triggers don't activate, which is why I think I have the advantage in this matchup. But on the downside here, Vegapunk does play a lot of blockers, and so if I can't find a way to get around these blockers, then I'm going to be in trouble myself because my opponent can use these blockers to prevent these Banish swings. But we'll see how it goes. Going for the deck cut here, and then onto the dice roll. High roll as usual. Let's see what we're gonna get. My opponent's gonna roll a 6, and I'm gonna roll what looks like a 4, so my opponent gets to pick. And they're choosing to go first. Alright, so I go second. I don't mind this because going second means I'll have a little bit more Dawn to work with. A 9k Banish on turn 2 with 4 Dawn is pretty good. But also, I think my curve is a little better going second. But now, let's just take a look at our initial opening hand. I'm starting off with an 8 cost Doflamingo, 3 cost Nico Robin, 1 cost Nico Olvia, 4 cost Frankie, and 3 cost Usohachi. Let's do our counter check. We've got a 1k, 2k, 2k, and a 2k. Wow. We have a total of 7k counter in hand. That's really nice. So in terms of defenses, I'm feeling pretty good. But in a matchup like this, where I know the Vegapunk isn't going to be swinging just because Vegapunk cannot attack, I don't think I need this many counters, surprisingly. So what I should be looking for are just the key cards that are going to be helping me in this game. So looking at my hand, do we have any of those? And yes, we do. The first one is the 3 cost Usohachi. This is a 2k counter, which is really nice, but it is also one of the only ways I can rest a blocker in the deck. Specifically, with Usohachi, I can rest a 5 cost blocker if I'm at 8 or more Dawn. And knowing how my opponent is going to be playing a lot of 5 cost blockers, like the Shaka or even the 5 cost Vegapunk from EV02, then this card becomes really crucial for me to be able to get around those blockers. I am also happy to see the 3 cost Nico Robin. So this Nico Robin is a blocker, and on KO I can Dawn -1 to look at the top 3 cards from my deck for a Straw Hat Crew type card, which is really nice because I can find things like another Robin, Frankie's, or any 2k counters that are Straw Hat. I can even find a Gum Gum Giant, which is really nice, but because the majority of my deck is Straw Hat, it's just one of my searchers, and actually it's my only searcher in the deck, so having that is really nice. But also, my opponent will actually be playing a lot of characters very early that can attack at my life. And if I don't want to give up cards in my hand, since I know I will be trashing them due to leader ability, having a blocker means that I can get out of some of these hits without going down on hand size. So really happy to see those 2 cards. I am also happy to see the Nico Olvia. This is just a really good card to give my leader plus 3k, and it's also a 2k counter at worst. So in scenarios where I just need to go for a big swing, I can just play that for 1 Dawn and just go for a 3k Banish. Otherwise, I'm just using it for a 2k counter. Rest of my cards are just okay. If I had to say what am I going to be looking for if I do mulligan here, it's going to be for some card draw. Really looking for anything that can help refill my hand. Let's see if I choose to keep or not. Looks like my opponent has decided to mulligan, and it looks like I am also deciding to mulligan here. Interesting. What cards are we looking for? Like I said, we're just looking for anything that can, you know, draw me cards, but also any of my resting tools. And unfortunately, in this deck, I'm not running many. It's just the Usohachi, and pretty much, I think, just the 5-cost Nami that can KO a 5-cost or less. Those two are going to be the key cards for this deck here. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and put this on ×2. Don't know how long it's going to take for us to shuffle here. Looks like I'm done. And my opponent is just about done as well. Alright, let's take a look at what our final opening hand is going to be. We're starting off with a 5-cost Don Quixote Rocinante, 4-cost Frankie, 5-cost Luffy, 6-cost Nico Robin, and another 5-cost Luffy. Let's do a counter check. We've got, oops, actually Rocinante is a 1k, a 2k, 1k, 1k, 1k. Alright, so in our hand we have a total of 6k counter. That's still a very high number. A lot of 1ks are nice because maybe our opponent will be swinging us at 5k, but at least we've got 1 2k just in case they end up going for anything higher. Looking at the cards in the hand, I'm already disappointed that I do not have the blocker in my hand, which is sad. And we lost the Usohachi. So that Usohachi was really crucial for, you know, this matchup. So I'm really surprised I chose to mulligan here. I think I should have just kept that Usohachi in hand, since I only have 4 in the deck. But are there any good cards in my hand right here? Yeah, I guess this Rocinante isn't too bad. It does let me draw 2 cards if I trash an event, so it is one of my card draw engine pieces. That's not bad. And I guess this Robin, at the moment, it wasn't looking, you know, too good to me, but considering how Vegapunk does heal, then having the Nico Robin in my hand means that I can just send that to the trash right away. So otherwise, I don't think any of the other cards in my hand are actually helping us here. The Luffy can only KO a 4-cost or less, both on the ability and on the trigger. So knowing that my opponent has a lot of 5-cost in hand means that it's not really gonna be doing much. It could draw me a card, but then I have to trash it itself. So is that worth? Not really. Oh well, I think my first hand was better here. I should have kept that initial hand instead of mulliganing. But we've got to work with what we got now. Fist bump to start the game, and my opponent is kicking things off. So they're gonna go 1 Dawn. And what are they gonna do? Tap 1 Dawn, and they're going to use Vegapunk's ability to play out the 5-cost Pythagoras. I think that's the name. Pass back to me. I draw for turn. It's the 3-cost Sol and go up to 2 Dawn for Dawn phase. Nothing for me to do, so I pass back to my opponent. They're going to draw for the turn. They should go up to 3 Dawn. And sorry, I'm gonna have to potentially look up a lot of these scientist cards here. Yeah, it was Pythagoras. Okay. Let's see what my opponent is going to do with 3 Dawn. I'm going to tap 1 Dawn. I'm guessing to use leader ability, play out a 2nd Pythagoras. All right. And wow, they're going to start off with a big 8k swing at my life. I would have to give up a lot of cards from my hand to get out of this, which I don't, so I just take the hit. And looks like I hit a trigger here. Unfortunately, I was looking away at that moment. So let's see what trigger this is. It's the Nico Ovia. And I'm choosing to activate the trigger, which lets me draw 3 cards and then trash 2. I think this is an okay play because it does let me search a little bit deeper. Helps me find cards that I might be needing for this matchup. And we drew a pretty good ones. We drew a 6-cost Nico Robin, a 8-cost Doflamingo, and the 3-cost Usohachi. And so now I have to trash 2. Which 2 do I want to trash here? Okay, it looks like we're going to choose to trash one of our Nico Robins and one of our Lufis. I think that's a fine choice. If I go to my hand once again here, hopefully I spread it one more time. Yes, perfect. Oh, I had it and then I lost it. 1 second here. Back to that. Okay, so based on the cards that I have in my hand and the ones that I drew, I'm keeping this 8-cost Doflamingo even though it's a brick. You saw that I gave up 2 1Ks here when I had to trash. And the reason for that is because I have the 5-cost Rosinante in hand. So the 8-cost Doflamingo and the 5-cost Rosinante is one of the combos in my deck. If you don't know what Doflamingo does, I'll go ahead and put that up on screen. Oops, 1 second. Yep. Doflamingo is an 8-cost, is a purple 8-cost 9k power special character with no counter and has the 7 Warlord of the Sea and Don Quixote Pirates typing, and his effect reads on play, Don -1, play up to 1 Don Quixote Pirates type character card with a cost of 5 or less from your hand. On your opponent's attack, once per turn, you may rest one of your Don cards, add up to 1 Don card from your Don deck and set it as active. So it's a really nice way for me to establish 2 characters on the board, a 9k and a 6k. Which would be really nice, but more importantly, I have this combo in the deck because Robin is Don hungry. She needs a lot of Don because she want to be putting Don behind her leader in order to go for big banish swings, but also using it to be able to play cards on the field to get any kind of value. So by having this combo in hand, I get to play those 2 cards, and it's going to help me restand some Don, so it means I can use all my Don during my turn. So Doflamingo is good for helping me ramp and play out that Rosinante, and the Rosinante is a purple 5-cost 6k power special character with 1k counter and the Navy/Don Quixote Pirates typing, and his ability says on play you may trash 1 event from your hand, draw 2 cards, and of your turn if you have 7 or more Don cards on your field, set up to 2 of your Don cards as active. And so like I was mentioning, the Rosinante here is the more important card because it allows me to restand 2 Don at the end of my turn. So I can use all my Don, like I said earlier, and then knowing that I can restand the 2 Don for any kind of event, like Gum Gum Giant. And it is a card draw in my deck. So if I have an event that I'm not really using, I can trash it to draw 2 more cards. So that's why I kept that in the hand. We've already talked about the Usohachi here, but I got the Usohachi, so I definitely want to keep this in hand to rest any blockers they play out. And so since I had duplicates of the Robin and the Luffy, I felt like those were 2 good choices to trash here. Pass back to me, I draw for turn, it's the 6-cost Saul. I go up to 4 Don for the turn. We're going to go ahead and attach 1 Don to my leader and go 6k Banish at my opponent's life. They give up a 2k to get out of that. And I am using leader ability here, so let's see what I trash. I'm going to give up the 5-cost Luffy and ramp 1 Don rested. Now with 3 Don left, I'm going to tap 3 Don and play out the Saul blocker that I hit. So this is why having the 3-cost blockers is really important for me. I now have established a blocker which can help me get out of some bigger swings while saving cards in hand. Pass back to my opponent. They're going to draw for turn, going up to, looks like 4 cards in hand, and now they're at 5 Don. Already they're amassing a pretty big board here with a bunch of 6k swingers. Yep, and my opponent almost went 1 extra Don here. Yeah, they should only be at 5 because they're going on the odd curve here. They forgot to refresh or reset their Don. So always remember to refresh first before you do your draw and Don phase. So they're at 5 Don now. They're going to attach 1 Don to one of their Pythagoras and go 7k at my leader. So I have to give up a 2k and a 1k for this. They have 4 Don left. I can assume that 1 Don is going to be used for leader ability, so they really only have 3 Don left to work with. that could be a 9k swing with the other Pythagoras, which is why I would want to counter out of this and keep the blocker so that I can get out of the bigger swing. So yep, we make the right choice here, giving up the 2k Frankie and the Robin. The Robin's okay to give up because they're not at 3 life yet, so it's fine, and we get out of the hit. They're going to use leader ability, tapping 1 Dawn, and trashing the, to play out the Nami. And the Nami trashes 1 card with trigger from their hand in order to KO a 5 cost or less, which they use to trash my blocker. That's really unfortunate for me because now I am vulnerable to an attack, a really big swing, and it would be a giant one, but they're going to just only attach 7 Dawn and go 7k at my life with the other Pythagoras. And I drew a 0 cost, you're the one who should disappear from my life. They pass the turn with 2 Dawn up and 3 cards in hand. I draw for turn, it's another 5 cost Rosinante, and I go up to 7 Dawn. I'm going to start off by tapping 6 Dawn to play out the 6 cost Saul. So this has slowly become my favorite card in the deck. Let's take a look at it. And I'll just let it play out here. Saul is a purple 6 cost 6k power strike character with no counter, and has the giant / Ohara / former Navy typing, and his ability says, on play if your leader is Nico Robin and you have 7 or more Dawn cards on your field, draw 2 cards. Its trigger just says activate this card's on play ability. And from my deck, I drew a Frankie and another Robin. So at least a 2k and a 1k. That's nice. With my 1 active Dawn, I go ahead and attach it to leader, and I'm going to go 6k at my opponent's life with Banish. And I do activate leader ability, I trash the Robin in order to ramp 1 Dawn. Overall, I think this was a fine play. Playing out the Saul just means that I can I can draw 2 cards. Hopefully see some more options from my deck. And my opponent chooses to take the hit, so he trashes his life. That's good news for me. And I unfortunately have to pass the turn here, not dealing with my opponent's board. So this is one downside I'm seeing, with Nico Robin, is that I'm rarely interacting with my opponent's board, at least with my version of the deck list, which is pretty scary because now they've got 2 6Ks and a 5K on board. But going back to my opponent, they're going to draw for turn, go up to 4 cards in hand, and then they're at 7 Dawn now for their Dawn phase. I have 2 life, and I have a lot of cards in hand, but no blockers. So the cards in hand might be going away really soon. I have 6 cards in hand. I am really trying to get to that point where I can just play out the Doflamingo and Rosinante combo. That would help me a lot because then I'd establish 2 big characters that can help me fight against my opponent's board or just go for life. As you can see, I've only really been playing 1 card per turn. Not really helping my case here. My opponent's going to start out with just a 6k swing at my life. I should counter out of this. And I thought Saul was... because I have 2 Sauls in the deck, I thought it was a blocker. That's not a blocker, so I have to... counter out of this. Give up a 2k to get out of it. I think that's fine. Because my opponent is holding up Dawn, I don't know how much they could attach to their characters. Countering out of the low cost swing right now means that I can just take hits later. They go 5k with Nami, I give a 1k to get out of that. And then finally they attach 1 Dawn to their Pythagoras and go 7k, which I just take. I know that they have no more attackers, so that's fine. They're going to tap 5 Dawn and play out the 5 cost Vegapunk, which is a really key card for Vegapunk now, so let's take a look at that. Oops, I spelled Vegapunk wrong. Right, pause here real quick. So Vegapunk is a yellow 5 cost 0k power wisdom character with 1k counter and has the scientist and egghead typing, and his ability says blocker, and on play, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck, play up to 1 scientist type character card with a cost of 5 or less other than Vegapunk, then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. And if your opponent has 2 or less characters, trash 1 card from hand. Its trigger just reads draw 1 card. So he switched to the top 5, picked out a Shaka, which is another blocker, 5k, 6k power, or 5 cost, 6k power blocker, and plays that out. And that is unfortunate for me because now I have to deal with 2 blockers. Because I have only 1 character on the board, they have to trash 1 card at least. So they trash the... I forgot her name. Whoops, what is her name here? 1 second. Alright, it's okay. They trashed the card. If I remember it later, I will let you know. And then they tap 1 Dawn to use leader ability to put the Rayquaza help into life. Very good card for them, but since my leader has banish, I'm not too worried about it. Pass back to me. My opponent only has 1 card in hand, and they have no Dawn up. They've got 2 blockers. I go up to 10 Dawn. York. Okay, sorry. It was bothering me. The card that he trashed was York. Alright, so back to my turn. I'm at 10 Dawn. I drew a Nico Robin, which is a blocker, which is nice. But my opponent has 2 blockers with 2 life and 1 card in hand. It would be really nice if I'm somehow able to get rid of it. I asked to check my opponent's trash because they did put a Rayquaza help in life. So if you don't know what that card does, let's take a look at that. Why can't I find it? That's weird. Oh, okay. It's helped spelled with 2 L's, I think. No? That's crazy. Why can't I find it on the official card list? Sorry. Bear with me here. What? I'm spelling the word right. Does it have a different name and I'm just remembering the translation name instead? No, I definitely spelled it right. Alright, I don't know why I couldn't find it, but I finally did. So, Rayquaza Help is a yellow 1-cost event that says counter if you have 2 or less life cards. Up to one of your leader or character cards gains plus 3000 power during this turn. Or, sorry, during this battle. And then the trigger, which is the more important part, says play up to one of your egghead type character cards with a cost of 5 or less from your trash. And so knowing that he has that in life, I'm just making sure to see what cards he has in his trash. Majority of the time, they are going to bring back a blocker. So if I end up KOing, you know, one of these blockers they have on board, and I'm not using my banish at my opponent's life, then they can just bring that blocker, which makes it hard for me to end the game. So just gotta make sure I know what potential cards they could play from trash there. I do have the Usohachi, which means that I can rest one of their blockers. And I have 2 attacks on board. This is also a turn where I could play the 8-cost Doflamingo and Rosinante combo, giving me a pretty big board myself. I would have no blockers, and against my opponent's board, maybe that's not the best idea because they have a 5k, 6k, and 6k, and the 6k in the Shaka. If I don't do something about their board, then I would be at risk at losing, especially if I play that combo. So unfortunately, I don't think the timing is right there. I don't have anything that can KO my opponent's characters either. I'm stuck here. Looking at my hand, I think what has to happen for sure is playing out this Robin. It's the only blocker I have in hand. It's 3 Dawn, and it can let me search the top 3 cards of my deck for potentially an answer to save myself. Since I can find a Straw Hat type character, or sorry, type card, any card actually, Could be a giant, could be a 2k. So I think that has to be the play. So that's already 3 Dawn, meaning I only have 7 left. I would want to keep 1 Dawn up in case I do hit the Gum Gum Giant. So that's already 4 Dawn I can't use, leaving me with only 6 Dawn left. If I want to get rid of, rest one of their blockers, that's another 3 Dawn with Usohachi. So I really only have 3 Dawn to work with here. With 3 Dawn, I could potentially split it between my Saw and my leader, go for maybe a 7k banish at life, and 7k with Saw at maybe one of the characters. But I think that's the best play I can do. Playing the Doflamingo right here is actually really bad. Like I said earlier, I would be vulnerable to just multiple swings from my opponent. Let's see what the play is gonna be. I do have a 0 cost event in hand, so I know I have at least a 3k counter there. So I have a 3k, a 1k, a 1k, and a 2k in hand. Alright. I think we've settled on a plan here. Maybe. I guess I'm also considering if I do play the Rosinante, I could trash the 0 cost event to draw 2 cards. But are those 2 cards better than having that 0 cost in hand? Maybe not. So yeah. Alright, I split 4 and 6, like I mentioned earlier, keeping 3 for the blocker and 1 Dawn up for potentially giants. I do have my life as well, right? Could be a giant there. You never know. And you want to just force your opponent to try to think about the fact that you potentially have giant in hand. Oh man, I'm really thinking out this turn, huh? Okay, we're gonna attach 3 Dawn to my leader and go 8k banish at life. And they're going to choose to block with the Vegapunk. Then we're gonna go another 9k at Nami, which they let go. Then finally with 3 Dawn, we're going to play out the Nico Robin. Alright, and then we pass the turn with 1 Dawn up and 5 cards in our hand. So let's evaluate that, because it's different from what I was mentioning earlier. I just want to get the shot of my hand in screen here. There we go. Alright, so what did we accomplish in this turn? We were able to get rid of one of their blockers, and we were able to get rid of the Nami with the Saw play. Additionally, because we chose not to play the Usohachi, we kept a 2k in hand, which means that we have a 2k, 1k, 3k, so 6k counter in hand, 1 blocker, and 1 life. So our defenses are pretty good here against my opponent's 6k, 6k, and 6k characters on board. I'm pretty sure they're not going to attack with the Shaka because it is a blocker and they only have 1 card in hand. So because I didn't go all in there, they are now having to figure out how they can survive potentially if they try to attack at me, right? So overall, good play. It is unfortunate I couldn't get rid of this blocker. The play that I mentioned earlier of using the Usohachi, I could have rested, let's say, the Vegapunk. No, sorry. Yeah, rest the... Yeah, if I use 3 Dawn, I would only have 3 Dawn left. It would have to be rest the Shaka. So if I rest the Shaka, and that means they only have the Vegapunk up as the only blocker, I could have gone for a lower swing here with leader. Let's say maybe 7k at life. They would most likely have to use the Vegapunk blocker, since if I attack 7k, they have no Dawn up. This at most in hand can be a 2k counter. They would have trashed the Vegapunk. So that would have gotten rid of 1 blocker. And because now the Shaka is rested, I could have just done 7k to the Shaka. That is a little bit risky because if this is a 2k in hand, they get out of it, and I just wasted one of my attacks. But if they don't have a 2k, then they would have lost their Shaka as well. So they would have been down 2 blockers. They would still have the same number of characters on board, 3, and they're all 6k power. And if I had done that, I would have gone down 1 2k in hand. So I would only actually have 4k counter in hand. So both have, you know, pros and cons. One gets rid of 2 blockers that I don't have to deal with, whereas the other one means I have more counter in hand. I think the play that I ended up choosing here worked out fine because, yeah, I am not too afraid of losing now that I did that. Oh, and another thing is I started with my leader swing here because if they... Sorry, let me think how I want to say this here. I started with the leader swing and I was going to base the rest of my turn whether or not they chose to protect or let this life go. Because this card can bring back a blocker, if they block and keep this card in their hand or in their life, I know that the blocker that they just trashed can come back. So at that point, I don't want to attack with Saul at life anymore, forcing the blocker because they can just trigger and gain that blocker back. So I went 9k at the Nami instead to just get rid of it. I could have done maybe 9k at the 6k. That would have been a maybe better play. It means they would have 1k less power on board. But I really wanted to try to just guarantee a kill. And they didn't want to give up their Shaka blocker. So if they had let this, you know, go, then I think I would have been more inclined to just attack at life with my Saul, since I'm not worried about them bringing back any blockers, and regardless of whatever trigger that is. So, all right. That was a pretty crucial turn here. Hopefully now I have enough counter to stay alive. My opponent is at 2 cards in hand. They're at 9 Dawn. What are they going to do? This is also what I was aiming for with my leader here. Just making them go down on cards in hand. Means that I have more resources and hopefully have more options while they are now limited on options. My opponent could just divide up all 3-9 on their leaders and just go 9k, 9k, 9k. Can I get out of that? 1 9k is going to be blocked. 1 9k is going to be just life. So that wouldn't be smart for them. They would have to be relying on a 9k, which I think I have enough counter in hand. But they did go 9k with their first swing, which I chose to block here. And now we get to look at top 3 for a straw hat, and we whiff. Oh no, that is not what we want to see. That is really unfortunate for me. Yikes. Okay. Alright, looks like they're attaching 5 Dawn on their Pythagoras. Going a big 11k, which I'm just gonna take. No point of countering that. And it's a blocker Robin. And they tap 1 Dawn to play out another Shaka. Alright, so now they've got 2 blockers again. And we're kind of in the same position here. 2 blockers, and I have to try to survive this somehow. I have no life this time though, so now I am worried about him using the Shaka to swing with. I did draw another Nico Robin, so I could put down 2 blockers here. Okay, interesting. We're going to start off by tapping 3 Dawn to rest one of the Shakas. That's fine. I still have enough Dawn to put down 2 blockers if I need to. So I'm resting this blocker now because if I swing at life, it forces the other blocker out. Since they only have 1 card in hand, I should be swinging at least 7k here if I do that, because this could be a 2k in hand. So swinging 7k means that it guarantees the hit, so they would have to use the Shaka. But if I use 2 Dawn, that means I don't have enough to play out 3 blockers. So now I'm hesitating. Is 2 blockers better, or is 1 blocker okay? And we're gonna go ahead and just try it. 7k swing banish at my opponent's life. Let's see what they have in hand. Okay, they block and they let it go. So that is the scenario that I wanted. But okay, good. So I'm choosing to go 7 here at the other Shaka because now I know that they have the Rayquaza Hope in life, like I mentioned before. If I attack at life, they just bring back another blocker, which is really bad for me. So going here to get rid of their other blocker is a really good move from my end. And then I just tap 3 Dawn to play out the Robin. So in my hand, I only have 3k, 1k, 1k, so 5k counter in hand. I can potentially find something off of the Robin here and get some more counter, but it is a blocker. They have 2 attacks. If they split their Dawn, then it's going to just be an 11 and 11. That's pretty high. One of them does get blocked, and I don't have enough to get out of the other 11. So it really is going to come down to what I can find off of this Robin swing here, or the Robin blocker. My opponent is going to tap 3 Dawn to use Dedashi. Ooh, really good card for them at this moment. Dedashi is also an important card in my deck, so let's just look at it. Dedashi is a yellow 3-cost event that says main, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal up to 2 cards with a trigger other than Dedashi and add them to your hand. Then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order, and it has trigger, draw 1. So this is really good for my opponent right now. They only have 1 card in hand. A lot of the scientists and egghead cards in Vegapunk's deck are triggers, so he can find practically anything at this point. And he finds a Nami and a Pythagoras. Okay. That Nami is actually really bad for me because it can KO my blocker now. So yep, they play the Nami for 1 Dawn using Vegapunk's leader ability, trashing a Nami from hand. So now we knew that the other card in their hand was a Nami. KO my Robin, and I will use Robin's ability, Dawn -1, look at top 3. And we whiff again! No! That's so unfortunate. Double whiff when a majority of my deck is Straw Hats. That's really bad. My opponent only has... what is that, 6 Dawn left though? Yeah, but now I have to deal with 2 swings, right? So, okay, here we go. And not to mention, sorry, I forgot of it. Nami lets my opponent draw a card because they were at 3 or less, so they at 2 cards. My opponent is going to start off with... 1 second. I think that was a 10k. Let me go back. How much Dawn was that? Oh, it's 3. Okay, so they're going 9k at my leader. I'm going to give up my 0 cost event to go +3, and then a 1k counter to go to 10 to counter out of that. And then finally they have 9k and they take the win. Oh man, that was just unfortunate from my end. My 2 Robin searches ended up whiffing. And yeah, can't do anything about that. Oh well, overall, GG's to my opponent. They played it well, they got the Dedashi to find the answer to the blocker. They did have the Nami in hand, but it really... yeah. I was talking to my opponent after this match, if I remember correctly. We now know that the last card in their hand was a Nami, and they drew 1 card from the turn, which was Dedashi. Either way, they didn't really have to search, but they could have just used the Nami, 5 Dawn to play out the Nami, trashing the Dedashi to KO. Or sorry, not even 5 Dawn, they just use leader ability, right? If my opponent just uses leader ability, 1 Dawn to play out the Nami, trashing the Dedashi from hand, then they can KO my Robin. They would have had 9 Dawn left to work with, which would have pretty much guaranteed the game, because now that's just 9 Dawn split between 2 characters. What is that? That's just a 10k and an 11k. There's no way I'm surviving that. So they took a risk by actually using the Dedashi to search for more cards. But then on my end, I just ended up whiffing. And yeah, can't do anything about that. Unlucky. Alright, well, if you caught anything in this match that I missed, or you have any suggestions on what I could have done better, then let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, GG's to my opponent again, and I will see you guys in the next game. Yeah. Sorry, I hesitated there because I was like, is there anything else I want to talk about this match? But I think I did the best that I could. Alright, bye. Until next time, remember, keep your minds fresh and your spirits free. See ya.